Hey everyone, Chris here for Cosmic Rage, and today we're going to be getting into script writing, or probably more outlining for script writing, but just kind of getting that process started. So the big thing to kind of keep in mind is that this is a process that works for me. I'm the only real artist on Cosmic Rage, other than my voiceover talent and audio production. So in terms of kind of filling in some of the gaps in story writing and script and stuff. Um, I don't necessarily have to have some of the details planned out at certain stages since I'm not passing materials off to another artist or anything. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Um, Also, I hope that you guys can try this out in your own workflow and kind of see how it works. And maybe if you're stuck, you'll find some inspiration here or something new to try, and maybe it works for you. So I keep working on refining my workflow throughout my process too. So but moving right along. So the first thing that I do when I start writing a new episode is I will start by creating my boundaries, which would be my beginning and my end, right? So for instance, on episode 2, my beginning is going to start with where the character is leaving off um, in the first episode, and then also my ending that's going to potentially set up a third episode, right? So these boundaries, I like to kind of equate to like planning a road trip, right? So if I was going to Anime Fest again, which is down in Dallas, that's gonna be my point B. That's my destination. Point A is gonna be me leaving my house, and there is a million different ways that I can get from my house to Dallas, right? So just by giving yourself some boundaries, you can kind of start kind of narrowing your focus as to these elements are going to happen inside, right? Or in between. So the main thing that I try to do is I try to start high level and this kind of refine throughout the entire process. So once I have my point A and my point B, I will start writing these little kind of breakdowns for different scenes that would go in between there, right? So for instance, they're only going to be like 2 to 5 sentences long, maybe, and it's just going to be used to kind of help set the tone, the feeling, character interactions, just some really high level stuff, right? So if two characters are walking down the street, for instance, what might they be talking about on a high level note? Maybe they're talking about a football game or a fight they saw or a movie they watched, right? That's not Cosmic Rage related, but just giving you kind of an example. And I don't want to get into the details of actually writing the dialogue out yet. I just want to get an idea of what's going on in that scene. So what are they talking about? What are they doing? Is there any external factors? Is there a note on the weather? Do I want the weather to be rainy because they're talking about a sad movie or something? Do the characters actually not talk at all? Just kind of those kinds of things are what I'm looking for to kind of set up in that scene. What characters are present, moods, emotions, and other notes that I'm going to need for when I get into storyboarding. Just looking at some of my notes to make sure I don't leave anything off. So the main reason that I do these descriptions is I want to make sure that I'm progressing my story lines for individual characters and themes, that I have those and I'm pushing those forward, right? I don't want to end up not writing something for episode 1 if I want to bring that and keep pushing that forward. If I want to take a break from it and maybe reintroduce it later, I can do that. But like I said, this is just to kind of make sure that you know where you're kind of going. Like I have a loose idea of things that are going to be happening, in future episodes. So I know kind of what I need to do to kind of push them along a little bit. So if you're having trouble with those areas in between your beginning and end, maybe you need to flesh out a little bit more beyond the end, so you know kind of where those characters kind of need to progress a little bit more. And then maybe if it's an idea or a motif that you have, kind of the same thing, right? So the main thing here that I kind of want to do is I want to remove just unnecessary stuff, right? We all have shows that we like that have filler arcs, filler episodes, and I'm trying to remove that as much as possible, right? So I don't just want to have two characters walking down, the street talking about something that isn't relevant, right? I want to make sure whatever's going on is progressing a storyline forward or foreshadowing something that's going to be set up later on. And one of the other things that you can do here, since we're not writing dialogue, since we're just writing these short 2 to 5 sentence summaries, is it really lets us kind of rearrange them and kind of work on establishing a little bit of a flow for this for the episode, right? So maybe the episode starts off with an action sequence, and then maybe we want to kind of slow it down a little bit with some kind of I don't want to say fill in, but some kind of information from either maybe something that happened in episode 1 or something that's going to happen later on in 2 or 3, right? So you can kind of do this so that way your episode maybe isn't just all action at the beginning and then kind of more dialogue and world building in the last half. Maybe there's a way that you can kind of sprinkle those in together, maybe even consolidate scenes and ideas. So that's kind of one of the areas that I like to do here is I like to kind of, like I said, have those summaries so I can start moving them around a little bit. And it's not a ton of like copying and pasting and stuff like that, because remember, your summary should include, things that characters are talking about, things that, maybe happening to kind of reinforce that in the environment or something. So maybe if they're, walking down the street talking about something sad, it's raining. This will kind of, like I said, let you kind of piece and kind of fit things together a little bit, so you can kind of build up your story in a way that, like I said, flows. Okay. All right. So once I have kind of a structure laid out for the episode, once I have these scenes kind of pieced out the way that I think flows together, makes sense, that's when you can then go in and start refining and maybe start pushing in some dialogue. And I'm not going to get into dialogue a lot right now, if at all, because that's a whole nother topic. But I just kind of wanted to show you guys and discuss about how just building like this outline for your episode can just kind of help you determine the pacing and flow of your episode. So, like I said, this process is going to vary depending on your project and who you're working with and stuff like that. And some scripts are going to require way more detail. But like I said, this is something that I found that works for me since I'm the only one working on this project. And the main thing is like I said, writing those summary notes just to kind of get an understanding of what's going on in the scene. And then I can use that as inspiration for writing dialogue and some notes for actions is what's going on in the scene too. So I hope that helped you guys. And next week I'm looking to break down the script writing process similar to what I did here, but actually talking about the script for episode 2 for Cosmic Rage. So if you guys are a Patreon supporter, that'll be available to you guys next week. So otherwise, thanks for stopping by, and feel free to subscribe below. Thanks.